Artifacts from World War II, long forgotten, continue to shed light on one of the most formative eras in human history when they are uncovered. These discoveries, which are frequently unanticipated, tell tales of bravery, deceit, tragedy, and discovery. They also dramatically illustrate the war's far-reaching effects. This video explores 15 of the most remarkable findings from the Second World War era, providing a window into the artifacts that bear silent witness to the past. Number 15. The SS Richard Montgomery munitions ship, just below the surface of the Thames estuary at Sheerness, England, is one of the most terrible and enduring memorials of World War II. The unfinished task of the war is starkly symbolized by the SS Richard Montgomery, a sunken U.S. Liberty ship loaded with explosives. The SS Richard Montgomery, one of the many ships constructed as part of the United States wartime shipbuilding effort, was used to transport supplies to Allied soldiers. In August of 1944, it was loaded with roughly 7,000 tons of armaments at Hog Island in Philadelphia for passage to Cherbourg in France. High explosives, detonators, bombs of varying sizes, and rounds of small arms ammunition were among its many stowaways. In late August of 1944, the SS Richard Montgomery entered the Thames estuary. Due to low tide and an enormous load, the Montgomery slid into the muddy bottom and became anchored in an area meant for vessels needing to wait for more favorable conditions or offloading sites. The ship broke in two and sank despite rescuers' best attempts, carrying the potentially lethal cargo. The SS Richard Montgomery is a powerful representation of the terrible might of World War II and its ongoing effects. The wreck's hazardous cargo and continued concerns about the tragedy it could create illustrate the difficulties of managing war artifacts and the precautions that must be taken. The story of SS Richard Montgomery is both exciting and ominous, as it highlights the ongoing perils and historical relics of a worldwide struggle that concluded more than 7 decades ago. Number 14. The Roswell Incident. Although the Roswell Incident of 1947 is not what one would expect to discover in connection with World War II, it has its origins in that war and has been the topic of tremendous intrigue, discussion, and conspiracy theories for decades. This historical event has spawned a cultural phenomenon that has moved beyond the sphere of history and into popular culture, influencing how people think about and talk about alien phenomena today. In July of 1947, a New Mexico rancher named Brazel saw strange debris lying on his land. Brazel was unfamiliar with any trash, described as metallic rods, tinfoil, tape, and solid video. Brazel notified the local sheriff of his discovery, and the military at Roswell Army Airfield was immediately dispatched to collect the wreckage. The Roswell crash is now a staple of UFO mythology in the United States. Roswell, New Mexico celebrates its unusual past by hosting a UFO museum, an annual UFO festival, and other alien-themed attractions and businesses. The Roswell incident took place after World War II ended, but its ties to Project Mogul and the climate of the early Cold War era make it an interesting footnote to that war's larger narrative. Fact, fiction, and supposition all weave together into a fascinating tale of mystery and the unknown, making this historical event intriguing even now. Number 13. The U-boat wrecks. When thinking back on World War II, a few chapters are as eerie as the one involving the German U-boats. These powerful cruisers were pivotal in the Battle of the Atlantic, when they sank hundreds of Allied vessels and jeopardized life-sustaining supply routes. The U-boats had some early success, but the tide quickly shifted as the Allies improved their anti-submarine tactics and equipment. Many U-boats had been destroyed, scuttled, or abandoned by the end of the war, their harrowing wreckage a sad witness to the tragic fate of the U-boat forces. The discovery of the U-869 off the coast of New Jersey in 1991 marked a turning point in the study of sunken U-boats. The crash was first attributed to the U-85, but its identity wasn't revealed until 1997. It was initially unknown what had become of the U-869, as it had strayed so far from its designated area of operations. Extensive investigation and risky dives revealed that its torpedo had sunk it, a tragic conclusion highlighting U-boat personnel's dangers. The U-576, discovered close to the stricken cargo ship Bluefields, provides further evidence of the brutality of the convoy engagements that defined the Atlantic War. Both ships' remains, found in 2014, have remained almost untouched since their discovery, providing a unique glimpse into a fight that appears to have been frozen in time. These sunken U-boats are a sad reminder of the cost of war, their steel hulls providing shelter to aquatic life. They offer a once-in-a-lifetime chance for historians and divers to investigate a vital part of World War II background. The sunken U-boats are a sobering reminder of the human toll exacted by the tools of war, a resonant remnant of a war that forever altered the global landscape. By continuing to investigate these ships, we can better understand the past and protect it for the benefit of future generations. Number 12. SS Gersapa Silver Treasure. One of the most astonishing treasure discoveries related to World War II is the story of the SS Gersapa and its golden cargo. In 1941, a German U-boat sank a British steam merchant ship carrying a large quantity of silver bullion. For over 7 decades, something was done with the Gersapa's wreck at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean when its treasure was recovered in 2012. Once used by the British India Steam Navigation Company, the Gersapa later served the United Kingdom's Ministry of War Transport during World War II. With a massive tea, iron, and silver cargo, it set off from Kolkata, India, in December of 1940. Private individuals and the government donated approximately 7 million ounces of silver in the form of bullion and ingots, respectively, to bolster the UK's war funds. Low on fuel and battered by stormy seas, the Gersapa fell detached from its convoy in February 1941 as it attempted to reach Galway, Ireland. The Gersapa was quickly destroyed when the German submarine U-101 located it in its isolated position and sank it. Only one person out of the original 85 could return to land after 13 days in a lifeboat. During the salvage operation between 2012 and 2013, more than 110 tons of silver were retrieved, making it the most remarkable recovery of precious metals from a shipwreck. The disaster site's extreme depth and challenging environmental conditions required the deployment of high-tech remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and other cutting-edge deep-sea equipment. The silver treasure on board, the SS Gersapa, has been lost for decades, but its story has been retold as a riveting tale of historical discovery thanks to advances in technology. A large amount of valuable metal was salvaged, and a previously unknown but extraordinary chapter of nautical history with ties to World War II was uncovered due to the operation's success. It's interesting to think that somewhere in the ocean's depths, a piece of our shared history awaits discovery. Number 11. The Maus Tank. The Panzer E-8, or Maus as it is more commonly known, is infamously remembered from World War II. The Maus is the world's heaviest, fully enclosed armored fighting vehicle, developed by Ferdinand Porsche at Adolf Hitler's request. The massive 188-ton Maus was designed to break past enemy lines without being damaged by counterattacks. Its vast frame concealed devastating armament, including a 128mm main cannon that could destroy any Allied tank. Poor speed, excessive fuel consumption, and an inability to traverse most bridges were some practical difficulties brought on by its enormous mass. In the war's waning days, the Red Army managed to seize one of the Maus prototypes, even though its German crew had destroyed a significant portion of the vehicle to prevent its capture. This prototype and its sister prototype were restored with parts from the latter and are currently on exhibit at the Kubinka Tank Museum in Russia, not far from Moscow. The Maus tank exemplifies the extremes of wartime engineering and the accompanying megalomania that often results from such attempts. Despite its inability to change the war's course, the Maus remains a fascinating episode in the history of armored combat. Number 10. Sinking of the Bismarck. The Bismarck, a mammoth battleship constructed by Nazi Germany, is a pivotal part of World War II's naval history. The destruction of the Bismarck was a top priority because of its threat to Allied maritime lanes because of its cutting-edge design, powerful weapons, and thick armor. Beginning in May of 1941, during the notorious Battle of the Denmark Strait, in which the Bismarck and cruiser Prince Eugen fought the British ships HMS Hood and HMS Prince of Wales, the Bismarck eventually foundered. When Bismarck sank the Hood in this battle, it was one of the worst naval defeats for the British in the whole war. After this triumph, Bismarck tried to outrun the following British fleet by making its way to the relative safety of occupied France. But a lucky torpedo blow from a swordfish biplane launched from the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal jammed the Bismarck's rudder, rendering effective steering impossible. This made the ship extremely vulnerable to the approaching British fleet. On May 27th, the British battleships King George V and Rodney and the cruisers Norfolk and Dorsetshire caught up with the Bismarck and began an unrelenting assault. By noon that day, the Bismarck was already taking on water, and it was speculated that the crew had destroyed the ship to prevent its capture. The wreckage of the Bismarck was discovered in 1989 by underwater archaeologist Robert Ballard, who found it at a depth of almost 15700 feet. It is a sobering reminder of the scope and ferocity of naval battle during World War II that this ship still lies in the water. Number 9. Wreckage of the USS Indianapolis. One of the worst disasters for the United States Navy occurred when the USS Indianapolis was sunk in the closing phases of World War II. The ship was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine in the Philippine Sea on July 30, 1945, after delivering parts of the Little Boy atomic weapon to Tinian Island. Many of the roughly 1,200 crew members perished due to heat exhaustion, dehydration, and shark attacks, leaving only 316 survivors. It took nearly 70 years to locate the USS Indianapolis disaster. Both tragic and elusive, its whereabouts were unknown. Not until 2017 was the debris located almost 18000 feet below the ocean's surface, thanks to technical improvements and the efforts of a civilian study team led by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. The ship's discovery provided closure for those who had survived the sinking and comfort to the families of those who had lost loved ones, even as it served as a sobering reminder of the ship's doomed voyage and the lives lost. Now that the ship's dying moments can be properly commemorated, thanks to thorough inspections and analyses of the wreckage, the boat can take its rightful position in maritime history. Since the location is now declared a war grave, preservation efforts are constantly being conducted to ensure its safety. The tragic tragedy of the USS Indianapolis has left an indelible mark on the annals of naval history, and its wreckage remains a source of fascination for historians, marine archaeologists, and the general public decades after the war's end. Number 8. Dead Sea Scrolls. Even though it had nothing to do with the war itself, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls during World War II profoundly impacted how we see ancient history and religion. These scrolls, which include the earliest known copies of the books of the Hebrew Bible, were discovered by chance by Bedouin shepherds in 1947 near the shores of the Dead Sea. At first, the chaos of battle made it difficult to study and interpret these priceless artifacts. The scrolls' significance was fully understood in the 1950s when a team of experts devoted themselves to studying them. The texts have shaped the way scholars view the reliability of the Bible, the nature of early Christian belief, and the historical setting of Jesus' life. There were 11 caverns where the scrolls were discovered. The final one was in 1956. Thanks to the improved research and preservation techniques made possible by technological developments in recent years, discoveries have been made in the area. The majority of the Dead Sea Scrolls are currently on display in the Shrine of the Book within the Israel Museum in Jerusalem and the collections of the Israel Antiquities Authority. There are still examples that avid collectors own. The discovery of the scrolls, the subject of heated controversy ever since it was made public, ranks among the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, and is inextricably related to the turbulent years surrounding World War II. Number 7. The Nazi Gold Train. The myth of the Nazi Gold Train remains an iconic symbol of World War II. Wrocław, Poland, was the departure point for a German train carrying wealth, diamonds, and precious artifacts in 1945 as the Allies closed in. The enigmatic Project Risa, a vast construction project begun by the Nazis, is thought to have been responsible for the disappearance of this well-guarded and armed train into a network of tunnels under the Owl Mountains. In 2015, when two treasure hunters said they'd found the gold train in a tunnel using GPR, the story went viral and sparked widespread interest in the legendary train. The train's existence has been the subject of much speculation, but subsequent examinations by Polish officials have yielded no evidence to substantiate these allegations. According to its detractors, the gold train is just a bunch of made-up stories pieced together after the war. Those who believe the train could be a real point to various pieces of circumstantial evidence, including eyewitness reports and Nazi documents. While the Nazi gold train narrative is fascinating on its own, it also serves as a sobering reminder of the Nazis' widespread plundering of Europe. Even if the train doesn't exist, the story's persistent appeal demonstrates how far-reaching the effects of World War II have been on the human imagination. Number 6. The Bad Arolsen Archives. The world's most extensive archive on Nazi victims and survivors is housed in a series of unremarkable buildings in the quiet German town of Bad Arolsen. Over 30 million records documenting the Holocaust, forced labor, and displaced peoples during and after World War II can be found in the Bad Arolsen Archives, commonly known as the International Tracing Service, ITS. The Red Cross created the collection to find missing people after the war, but it soon began collecting documents from other sites as well, including ghettos, Gestapo prisons, and concentration and extermination camps. Helping to establish facts, verify victims' fates, and reconcile families ripped apart by war, this comprehensive database has been essential to research and reparation efforts. It wasn't until 2007 that the entirety of the Bad Arolsen archives was opened to the public because of security concerns. They provide insight into the scope and systematic nature of Nazi atrocities, and have since become an invaluable resource for historians, researchers, and family members of victims. Through the 2016 inauguration of the Archive's digitization project, these documents are now accessible to people worldwide. The Bad Arolsen Archives maintain public involvement in remembering the victims through projects like Every Name Counts. The Bad Arolsen Archives are a powerful reminder of the Holocaust's atrocities and the need to preserve the truth in the face of historical revisionism. Even as the number of Holocaust survivors dwindles, the archive ensures that the millions of victims' stories live on as a testament to one of the darkest chapters in human history. Number 5. Hitler's Führerbunker. Adolf Hitler spent his final days in a complex of underground air raid bunkers known as Hitler's Führerbunker in the center of Berlin. Located beneath the Reich Chancellery, the Führerbunker served as the nerve center of the Nazi regime during the war's last months. The bunker's extensive room count included living quarters for Hitler and his closest colleagues, meeting rooms, and even a private doctor's office. With the Red Army closing in on Berlin in 1945, Hitler and his staff took sanctuary in a bunker with his mistress Eva Braun. Supposedly, Hitler and Braun killed themselves here on April 30th, 1945. The site of the Führerbunker is now identified by a sign in a parking lot close to the Holocaust Memorial. Since the German government is concerned about the site being a rallying point for neo-Nazis, it has opposed efforts to dig deeper or commemorate the event more fully. The Führerbunker is a symbol of the end of Hitler's rule, even if it is little more than a memory today. It's a sobering reminder of the Nazi regime's destructive course and global catastrophe. Historical researchers and fans of World War II are still drawn to its ruins because of the tragic story they tell about Hitler's final days. Number 4. The Amber Room. The Amber Room has been called the eighth wonder of the world and is considered one of the greatest World War II mysteries. The salon was a marvel of Baroque art when it was first built in the 18th century in the Catherine Palace of Tsarskoye Selo near St. Petersburg, Russia. It had over 6 tons of amber panels backed with gold leaf and mirrors. The Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941 necessitated the dismantling the Amber Room and its subsequent relocation to Königsberg. However, the Amber Room disappeared with the war's conclusion and the advancing Allies. Numerous hypotheses and exhaustive searches have been conducted since its disappearance, but no concrete evidence of its fate has surfaced. The Soviet and later Russian administrations conducted significant research into the Amber Room but could not find any leads. Historians and treasure seekers alike have been unable to locate it, which may now be lost, concealed, or in private hands. Meanwhile, in 2003, a copy of the Amber Room, carefully created by German and Russian craftsmen over the course of 2 decades, was unveiled at the Catherine Palace. It is a tribute to the original's remarkable beauty that its copy continues to wow tourists, even as the fate of the original Amber Room is a mystery. Number 3. Yamashita's Gold. The mystery surrounding Yamashita's gold during World War II is well known. General Tomoyuki Yamashita, the Japanese commander in the Philippines, is the inspiration for this urban legend. which claims that massive amounts of gold and other war loot were concealed in a network of tunnels and caves near the end of the conflict. Gold supposedly came from Southeast Asian countries that were conquered by Imperial Japanese forces. They looted it in China and carried it to the Philippines so they could send it back to Japan. Yet, as the war turned against Japan, the treasure was said to have been concealed, waiting for a recovery that never arrived. The story took a dramatic turn when a Filipino locksmith named Rogelio Roxas claimed to have discovered some of the riches in the 1970s. International media attention was garnered due to Roxas's following court battles with former Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos, who purportedly stole his treasure. There has been a lot of speculation about the whereabouts of Yamashita's gold, due to tales of occasional discoveries, but no concrete evidence has ever been provided to confirm its presence. Though many conspiracy theories have been spawned, treasure hunters remain drawn in by the myth of the lost hoard. Skeptics say the story arose from people's desperation and wishful thinking after the war ended. Still, believers say it serves as a sobering reminder of the Imperial Japanese military's massive atrocities. Whether the treasure exists or not, the story of Yamashita's gold is an intriguing footnote in World War II's convoluted and mysterious history. Number 2. The Ghost Army. In the midst of the chaos and destruction of World War II, a special deception operation, now known as the Ghost Army, played a critical, if little-known role in the eventual victory of the Allies. The United States Army's 23rd Headquarters Special Troops were experts in tactical deception, and its ranks included painters, actors, architects, and engineers. The objective of the Ghost Army was to trick the enemy into believing that the Allied forces were more potent than they were. They successfully created tactical advantages for the Allies by diverting German attention and resources using a variety of visual, oral, and radio deceptions. With the help of inflated tanks, fake planes, and even false buildings, they could fool onlookers into thinking that massive military outposts were present. Powerful speakers broadcasted the sounds of troops and machinery for sonic deception, while radio operators sent out false reports and orders for radio deception. The Ghost Army's contribution to the war effort was crucial, even though their existence remained secret until the 1990s. Due to its success in deceiving German forces, many lives were spared toward the end of the war. Documentaries and museums now honor the Ghost Army for its cunning tactics. Legislation to bestow upon the Ghost Army the Congressional Gold Medal in recognition of their outstanding achievements is currently being debated in the United States Congress. In this way, the Ghost Army's history endures, serving as a reminder of the value of originality and resourcefulness in military conflict. Number 1. The Enigma Machine. The Enigma Machine represents the significant impact of cryptanalysis on the development of the war. It has become one of the most recognizable emblems of the vast and secretive theater of code-breaking that emerged during World War II. This complex apparatus was invented by German inventor Arthur Scherbius at the turn of the 20th century, at first intended for industrial use. The German military quickly saw its potential for secret communication and developed a sophisticated tool to encrypt messages that appeared unbreakable. The Enigma machine had different variations, but they all used the same basic principle: a set of mechanically driven rotors to transform plain text into a complex cipher. German military personnel who used the device added complexity by wiring extra rotors and a plug board to jumble the letters further. Thanks to the Enigma's seeming indestructibility, the Germans could send vital strategic information without fear of interception. Everything from U-boat raids in the Atlantic to troop movements on the Eastern Front relied heavily on this cloak of cryptographic secrecy. Many Enigma machines were recovered from battlefields after World War II, and are now on display in museums worldwide as physical representations of the largely unseen war fought through codes and ciphers. These World War II artifacts attest that a fierce mental conflict accompanied the more visible conflict, serving as permanent reminders of the inextricable ties that bind together science, knowledge, and military might. Thanks for watching. If you want more videos like this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel to never miss out on any of our videos.